Canada is a country made up of 10 provinces and 3 territories, but they aren't governed in the same way. Provinces have more control over their own decisions, while territories depend more on the federal government. Today, we'll explore the key differences and similarities between provinces and territories, who makes decisions in each, and why these differences matter for the people who live there. Let's dive into how Canada's unique political structure helps manage its vast and diverse regions. Brought to you by Super Simple Sheets. From coast to coast, worksheets that work. Discover the full range of what we offer at supersimplesheets.com. Section 1. What's the difference between provinces and territories? Provinces and territories might seem similar on the surface, but they're governed very differently. Provinces like Ontario and British Columbia get their powers from Canada's Constitution. This means they have authority over important things like education, healthcare, and transportation. Provinces are mostly independent when it comes to making these big decisions. For example, in Alberta, the provincial government can set its own education policies without needing approval from the federal government. Territories, on the other hand, don't have the same level of independence. They rely more on the federal government, which means Ottawa has a bigger say in how they're run. This is because territories like Nunavut and the Northwest Territories have smaller populations and cover more remote areas. For instance, the federal government plays a key role in managing resources and providing services in these territories, especially when it comes to healthcare and land management. Section 2. Who's in charge of provinces and territories? In both provinces and territories, there's a leader called a premier. The premier is responsible for making decisions that affect everyone in the region. However, the amount of power a premier has depends on whether they are leading a province or a territory. In provinces, the premier and their government have significant control over things like schools, hospitals, and roads. For example, Quebec's premier has the power to set health policies for the province's healthcare system. Territories also have premiers, but they work more closely with the federal government. For instance, in Yukon, the premier needs federal support for large projects like managing natural resources or building infrastructure. This is because territories have fewer resources and need extra help from Ottawa to deliver essential services, especially in remote areas. Section 3. Why do territories have less power? The reason territories have less power mainly comes down to geography and population. Provinces like Ontario have large populations and strong economies, allowing them to manage most of their own affairs. This is why provinces have control over things like education and transportation. Territories, on the other hand, have smaller populations. For example, Nunavut has fewer than 40,000 people, and they're spread out across a huge area. Because of this, territories need more support from the federal government to provide services like healthcare, which is harder to deliver in remote regions. Another interesting fact. In territories, much of the land is owned by the federal government, while in provinces, most land is privately owned. This is one of the reasons the federal government has more influence over how land in the territories is managed. Section 4. Similarities between provinces and territories. Even though provinces and territories have their differences, they share some important similarities. Both provinces and territories have their own governments, made up of elected officials, including a premier, who make laws and decisions for their region. Additionally, whether you live in a province or a territory, you get to vote for representatives in Canada's federal government. People in provinces and territories elect members of parliament, MPs, who help make decisions that affect all of Canada. So even though territories rely more on the federal government, people living there still have a say in how the country is run. Provinces and territories also both contribute to what makes Canada unique. From the bustling cities of Ontario to the wide-open landscapes of Nunavut, every region plays a vital role in Canada's culture and identity. What we learned. Canada's provinces and territories are both key parts of the country's structure, but they operate in different ways. Provinces have more independence and control over their own affairs, while territories work more closely with the federal government to manage their resources and services. Whether you're living in a province or a territory, you're part of the unique fabric of Canada, where both regions help shape the country's identity. From the remote beauty of Yukon to the vibrant cities of Quebec, every part of Canada has a role in making the country strong and diverse. Thanks for watching. Simplify your teaching journey with Super Simple Sheets. Across Canada, we're known for our ready-to-use, curriculum-aligned worksheets. Dive into our educational solutions at supersimplesheets.com. Super Simple Sheets. From coast to coast, worksheets that work.